as Paul said, thank you. I am Laura Herman. I'm a resident here in Goderich and very excited today to be part of the grand opening of our Allan Thompson Volunteer Center. It's very exciting. We've got a very exciting time ahead of us and a very exciting man that we're all here supporting. Allan came to me before the nomination process and had a chat with me about why he wanted to run. And there was two things that jumped out to me right away. The first thing was his enthusiasm. His commitment and his dedication right from the start just showed what kind of campaign candidate we were going to have, and I was very impressed with that. The second thing that jumped out to me was Allan's goal to engage youth in politics. I think this is very important. I have learned myself that you can't help make a difference unless you get involved. Allan's theory is exactly the same, and he has a great drive and has already been doing so, already engaging youth in our community, in our riding, in this election, which I think is very important. So I thank Allan for having a similar goal as myself, that we need to engage these next younger generations. I'm one of them, and so I'm going to do my part to get people my age out and voting. It's very important for young people to be involved in our democratic process in this country. Thank you. The other thing that continuously impresses me about Allan is I thought I was busy as a working wife and a mother of an active 6-year-old, but when I sit down at night and read Allan's posts about where he's been, the breakfasts, the lunches, the dinners, the festivals, the parades. Somebody this morning did say Allan is eating his way through the riding, and I thought that was cute. His Have Your Say cafes, your pub and politics that he's hosting, it is unbelievable, Allan, what you are getting accomplished in a day, and it is very, the word I keep using is very impressive. Your presence in the riding and your desire to meet and speak with so many people just again shows your determination to be the next MP of this riding of Huron-Bruce. So Allan, that is why we are all here. I am so excited that we have the center opening here today. The center, for all of you, just so you know, is going to be open Monday to Friday, 1 until 4 p.m. each day. As we get into the campaign and closer to the date, I'm sure things will change and people will be around more often. But right off the start, that's what you should all know. We've got volunteers already in the audience that are going to help be a volunteer in here. I am looking forward myself to be a volunteer and just have a place where people can come and meet, we can strategize, and we can just have citizens come in and know where they can find the information to elect this man that I'm going to let speak next, because that's why we're all here. So I introduce to you, as you all know, Mr. Allan Thompson, our next MP of Huron-Bruce.
Maybe everyone can move a little closer. Duncan arranged for us to take over the sidewalk today, so please move in. Thank you very much. Thank you, Murray, Virginia, Paul. I don't know why Paul said we don't have much in common as a background. We were both pig farmers at one time. And I want to especially, there's a long list of people who are already at work and already volunteering here in Goderich. I should mention Heather Boa, who helped launch this campaign, has done a lot of work. Duncan Jewell, in particular, he's our coordinator for the Goderich and Huron County area. And it's just a phenomenal asset to have in this campaign. I'm very glad to be in Canada's prettiest town, steps away from the square. Rula and Laith and I made our way around the square already this morning, and just so happy to see people here and to get ready to open the second volunteer center in this campaign. Now, I feel as if when I'm inviting people to volunteer that I should just take a very brief moment and tell you what it is that I'm asking you to volunteer for. What kind of campaign am I inviting you to join? And I'll tell you, this campaign will be about integrity and fairness and the need for a rural voice in this riding. So, integrity. Everywhere I go in Huron-Bruce, I hear from people that they are sick and tired, not just of the Harper government, They're sick and tired of politicians. You're all the same, they tell me. Canadians have lost trust in their government. After 10 years of Stephen Harper, people don't trust their government. And that's because their government doesn't trust them. Everyone knows Ottawa is broken, and we need a plan to change it. We need real change. And you're going to hear that a lot. That's going to be a theme of this campaign, real change. I was really fortunate to be in Ottawa earlier this week. A group of candidates came together, and we were invited by Justin Trudeau to join him at a major policy announcement. He unveiled a document called Real Change, a plan for open government in Canada. And I'll tell you, there are 32 policy proposals in that document. Number one, no, I'm not going to take you through that, but I will tell you the highlights. This is one journalist who's not always a big fan of the Liberals called this jaw-droppingly comprehensive. This is a major, sweeping, radical plan to change government in Canada, to throw open the doors of government, and that includes the doors to the Prime Minister's office, to make it easier for Canadians to get information about their government. By default, the information generated by government will be open. You won't need a crowbar to pry it out of government. We'll start on the assumption that it's going to be open. We will look at changing our electoral system. For the first time in this country's history, Justin Trudeau stood there on Tuesday and said, this will be the last election run on the conventional first-past-the-post system. We're not going to prejudge. We're not going to prejudge what the outcome of that discussion is going to be, but within 18 months, there will be a piece of legislation for a new electoral system in Canada. Opening up the doors of government, something none of us had thought of before, gender equity in the cabinet, an equal number of women and men in the federal cabinet. And something very important for me, a revitalized new role for members of Parliament. Members of Parliament have to have an integral role in the government of Canada. And for me, if anyone happens to look back at a press release that I put out the day that I launched my campaign almost a year ago, restoring integrity in government is the bottom line. And that begins here in places like Huron-Bruce. It begins with your ordinary member of Parliament who is your voice in Ottawa, not Ottawa's voice in Huron-Bruce. Now, I'm also going to talk in this campaign about fairness, another major policy plank that Justin Trudeau has put forward. And I won't take you through all the details again, but the bottom line is simple. Every time government uses your money, uses tax money to try and help people, we have to do this in a fair and progressive way. Income splitting is not fair and progressive. The numbers are there. It gives money to people who don't need it. If we're going to cut your taxes, if we're going to create a child benefit, those schemes should be fair and progressive, and the money should go to the people who need it. So fairness, I think it's the Canadian way, and it's what we have to accomplish. And the final thing I want to talk about during this campaign, I think we need a rural voice. Now, I grew up on a farm, but I've lived and worked in the city, and in a way, I think I sort of have a foot in both worlds. And I am convinced that rural communities like Huron-Bruce are not heard in Ottawa. I'm convinced of that, so much so that it's one of the reasons that I want to be the Member of Parliament. By definition, everyone who lives in this riding lives on a country road, a farm, or in a small town. That's almost a unique situation in this country. There is not a city in this riding. There's not a large airport, there's not a train station, there's not public transit. Everyone who lives here lives on a farm, country road, or in a small town. And my mission as a Member of Parliament would be the person who's at the table, in the caucus room, in the corridors, and every single time a policy proposal, a piece of legislation, a change in regulations comes forward, my question will be, what does this mean to people who live on country roads, on farms, or in small towns? What is the rural voice? So integrity, fairness, and a rural voice. That's how I intend to run this campaign. That's the kind of campaign that I'm inviting you to join here today. And my determination is to provide the people of Huron-Bruce with what they deserve. A member of Parliament who's a strong, energetic voice in Ottawa. Thank you for joining me today. So now I want to ask you to really join me. If we can get everyone to come up and just assemble here in front of this office, and we're going to cut a ribbon.